This is Street Smart on the ground bus safety. Now, this isn't the video I had decided to shoot for this week, but based on the events of the last couple days, this one is a very timely addition to that bus series. Now, Tuesday, March 10th, I was finishing up a volunteering gig in Popayán, and my host dropped me off at the bus terminal so that I could get on a bus and come down to Pasto on the farm where I finally arrived. What should have been a 6-hour bus ride turned into almost a 36-hour ordeal due to events that happened en route over which I had absolutely no control. This video is going to outline why I build in margins of safety into my travel plans because of situations exactly like this one. So I left Popayán on the bus, no problem, should be 6 hours, we'll be in Pasto, I'll take a cab, go to the farm. Great plan. About 15 kilometers outside of a town called El Bordo, just outside of a place called Popayán, the highway was shut down. All of a sudden the bus stopped, we pulled over on the side of the road, and within a couple minutes, military, like heavily armed military vehicles came screaming down the road and locked down the site because there was a security incident that happened and shut down the highway going both ways. I got close enough, too close apparently, because the guys jumped out of these military vehicles. They were young guys with guns, still strapping on all their military gear, telling me you can't be here, you can't be taking pictures, and I was the only one there, so fair enough, everybody else hung back. I decided, probably not a great idea to argue, with guys with their testosterone flowing that are fully armed, like, how about I just back off? And I was talking to people further back, closer to the bus, and was getting all kinds of different ideas about what this was and how long the highway was going to be shut down and what was going on. At the end of it all, the bus driver said, well, I'm just turning around and going back 2.5 hours, 3 hours to Popayán. And we had just pulled through this town, El Bordo, and I said, well, I saw hotels there. I said, okay, leave me here and I'll see what I can figure out for onward travel. So I ended up getting off the bus, finding a hotel, and I didn't get emotional, I didn't get freaked out. I'm like, this is the only road between where I am and where I want to go. It's not open, I can't do anything right now. So just find a place for the night, let this blow over, and in the morning, let's see what can go on. Now, I found out later that night what had happened. I'm going to be deliberately vague about it so this video doesn't get flagged. But my host in Popayán had sent me a message through WhatsApp. Hey, how was your day of travel? Did you make it to Pasto? I said, no, I'm stuck in El Bordo because the highway was shut down and there was something that happened there. I saw rocks and branches and leaves and just detritus all over the road. Like, this was not a car crash. And he sent me a link to a video of somebody who got to that site immediately after the event, but before the military shut it down. And if you're interested in seeing what happened, I will leave a link in the description. You can check that out. These kinds of things happen not infrequently in this part of Colombia, and lucky for us, it happened well in advance of us arriving there, so we weren't impacted by it other than by the fact that we couldn't leave. We couldn't continue on to Pasto. So I got a hotel for the night and I started walking around town. It's a small town, maybe 30,000 people. Not a lot going on there. I was the only gringo, and I'm getting a lot of weird looks from people like, what are you doing here? You think I chose to come here? No. I chose to not go back to Popayán because I knew the following day, or whenever the road opened up, I would be heading back to where I was and continuing on to Pasto. So I was not halfway, but pretty far along the way. So I resorted to my street smart systems and decided, okay, let's put it into action. Get the hotel, gather whatever intel you can get together, wait for things to open up, and make your plans from there. Later that night, I could tell the highway was open because there was a lot more traffic flowing both directions. Big trucks were coming from the south, heading north through this town. So I figured, okay, the next day I'll be able to get a bus. Hopefully I can get back on the same bus that I already paid for. That didn't happen. But with the help of some people at a local bus office for a different bus company, they helped me flag down a bus, and I was able to continue my trip heading further south. I ended up making it to Pasto, to the farm in Pasto, around 7 p.m. Wednesday night. And I left Popayán around 7:30 a.m. Tuesday morning. So almost 36 hours. And that wasn't all. So I built in a margin of safety in terms of time. I had still another 2 weeks on my tourist visa, so that was fine. I also needed a margin of safety on money. Turns out, in this small town, there's nowhere to change US dollars because there's no tourism, so why would they do that? I went to a bank, I went to a couple other financial organizations, and they just said, no, we can't, like nobody in this town changes US dollars. You have to go back to Popayán to do that. But lucky for me, I had built in enough of a cushion that I was able to then get through this whole trip. By the time I got to the farm in Pasto, I had less than 20 bucks, which is what, like 70,000 pesos, but I had enough to make it through. I had loads of US cash and nowhere where I could change it. So that was margin of safety number 2, finances. Margin of safety number 3 was I wasn't on any tight schedule to get to a flight or to make a travel connection. I just reached out to my hosts in Pasto, where I started my trip in Colombia, and said, yeah, here's what happened. I'm not going to be able to get there today. I'll get there as soon as I can, and I'll let you know when I have any further information. So margin of safety is huge. Build in a buffer zone. This is a travel incident that I'm outlining, but you could build this into your life no matter what. It's back to that prepper maxim. 3 is 2, 2 is 1, 1 is none. If you have 3 options and 1 goes down, you still got 2. If you have 2 options and 1 goes down, you have 1. And if you just have 1 option and it goes down, you got nothing. So it was a very instructive lesson and a good test of my street smart travel systems to show me this is why you build in these margins of safety for things that are outside of your control. Hopefully that's been instructive. If you have any questions, like I said, I'll leave that link in the description. I don't want to talk about it in the video because it's probably going to get flagged, and I don't want to get on the wrong side of the military or the government here. But in that video, you'll be able to see the aftermath of what actually happened on the road. So bottom line, I ended up getting to where I was going intact, safely, because I had time, the schedule allowed for it, and I had enough money to be able to tide me over. I got to get somewhere pretty quick because I have less than 20 US dollars in terms of pesos. I have about 70,000 Colombian pesos on me, which is not going to get me anywhere. But now I have 2 weeks before I need to do anything. My system held up, and I learned a lot of lessons going through that. And when you build systems like that, emergencies, changes in plan, things that happen outside of your control, don't become catastrophic. They just become inconveniences. I was able to plan around all of these issues, and it all stemmed from an event where the highway was shut down, which turned my 6-hour trip into an almost 36-hour trip. Again, these things happen, especially traveling in this part of the world. Fortunately, it didn't affect us on the bus, aside from we weren't able to complete our trip. Nobody got hurt, no harm, no foul. But I had contingencies in place. I had the cash to see me through. I had the flexibility and the options built in terms of time and schedule, where I wasn't racing the clock, and I knew that everything would work out. Not on the timeline that I was planning for it to work out, but everything would work out, and I would live to travel another day. Any questions, please drop them below. Stay street smart, safe out there. See you next week.